Hello and welcome to Odds Now for a special bumper preview of the Grand Slam of Darts 2024, starting in Wolverhampton on Saturday, the 9th of November, and finishing a week later on the Sunday, the 17th. 32 players, a group stage event, which is unique for the PDC Tour, and very much plenty to look forward to. In this video, we're going to be looking at the odds, the runners, the riders, the groups, maybe a little bit on qualification, and I'm joined by Matt Hill and the face of Darts Now, Connor Cain, as well. Boys, where do we start? I mean, I've covered on the Odds Now already this week about the qualification criteria, and it's a little bit of a mess. We're not going to go too much into that. But plenty to look forward to as the season really starts to crescendo now towards everybody's favourite Christmas pastime, which is the World Darts Championship. What do you make of the Grand Slam of Darts at this early stage?
Yeah, I'm not quite as hyped as I normally am for this event, if I'm being totally honest. I think this is... I talk all year about the depth of quality in the PDC, but then I look at this field and I think it's not a fair representation of... There's just too many big names missing here for me to be like really excited about this event. I think, Chris Dobey, Damon Heta, Johnny Clayton, Going Price. It's massive. These are not just like middle players. These are top players missing.
Yeah, I think that's the problem. I mean, like you said, we're not going to go too much into it, but that is the problem with the qualification criteria. If you win a Pro Tour, if you win 3 Pro Tours or 30 Pro Tours, you're not guaranteed a spot. Chris Dobey won 3 and lost in the qualifier, but...
Yeah, well, the main problem with it, and I think as Matt and I have discussed before, is that the runner-up in certain events, or in most of the big events, actually qualifies. You obviously get players that double qualify because they win more than one major, they make more than one major final.
I have no problem with winning you're in, but I have a big problem with runner-up and you're in. Yeah. Because to me, being runner-up in the European Championship, no disrespect to Jermaine Wassamina, being runner-up at the World Cup of Darts, for me, winning a Pro Tour where there's all 128 tour card holders theoretically in that, and to win multiple Pro Tours and to not get in because of someone who was a runner-up in a TV event of not a particularly high caliber, it could be said. That doesn't sit right with me, but it is what it is. By all accounts, from what Connor heard from Matt Porter, it's not going to change anytime soon. So we'll just get on with it. And look, at the end of the day, the fact that it is a group stage format should mean that by the time we get to the knockouts, the cream will hopefully rise and we'll have some fantastic games to look forward to. It does normally end up being, particularly the back end of this tournament, normally throws up some fantastic games, doesn't it? I was watching back the Going Price Gary Anderson final last night from a few years ago, and just amongst all the chaos, what a brilliant game of darts it was, and nice long leg format extending as the tournament goes. And it means by the time you get to the semis and the final on that Sunday, you get some cracking games. So yeah, I'm sure I'll soon get over this little indifferent spot that I'm at the moment.
Yeah, so the group stage, 4 players in a group, 8 groups, throws up some really tight kind of conclusions like we get in maybe in the World Cup, in the football, etc. on the final day, leg differences, remember famously Fallon Sherrock, etc. First to 5, so really short format. I know we do a lot of talking about the Pro Tour, which is first to 6, but yeah, first to 5 can throw up some strange results. We're going to probably go through game by game, but just in terms of the betting markets at the top of the market, is pretty much as you would expect. Luke Humphries, the reigning champion, 3-1. Luke Littler, second favourite at 4. Then you're into Van Gerwen at 15-2. Gary Anderson, etc. From there on. And there's some at massive prices as well. We'll get to some of the qualifiers like the Bo Greaves of this world, Ralby John Rodriguez, etc. at much bigger prices. We've got Leonard Gates over as well from America. Lawrence Logan, one of my favourite characters. So plenty of characters to touch on. Just from a general outright betting market point of view, Matt, where would you be at this stage before we get really stuck into the detail?
Well, I mean, we talk about this quite a lot over on Odds Now, don't we? It seems the way to set these markets now is Humphries and Littler, then a little bit of a gap, MVG, then a little bit of a gap, Anderson, and the rest, basically, is where we're at. And I don't disagree too strongly with that in terms of who's the likeliest to lift the trophy. But if we've learned anything from the World Grand Prix and the European Championship, it's that you would do well to look a little bit further down that market because there's plenty of capable winners. And especially with that short format, as you mentioned, I expect to see some high-profile exits in the group stage, as we seem to every year. I think there could be actually more surprises this year than usual. I just look at some of these groups, and there's not that many players that I can put a line through in a first to 5 game. I do think that there's a lot of explosive players in this, and players that blow real hot and cold. So it can be quite hard to assess. In terms of the outright market, I always feel very safe backing Luke Humphries to win a tournament. I think that you still get juice in his price because of the presence of Luke Littler. I personally think Luke Humphries is a cut above everybody at the moment. I couldn't put anybody off backing him for the World Championship, and I will not be surprised to see him win this. But yeah, there are some further down the market that I'm sure we'll come on to that interest me as well.
Yep, absolutely. Okay, so we're going to delve into Group A to start with. That's where the number 1 seed and last year's winner, as you mentioned, Luke Humphries is. He's 2-5 to win Group A, and also in there is James Wade at 130, and then it's 16-1, both Mickey Mansell and Rowby John Rodriguez, some of those that would probably be on our list of probably shouldn't be there qualification-wise, but are. So yeah, is this going to be straightforward for Humphries, do you think, Connor?
Not necessarily, actually. I think when I spoke to Luke a few days ago at the PDC Media Day, he called Mickey Mansell one of the most underrated players on tour.
Saw that.
And I think if you look at the recent form of Mickey, he's been playing really, really well. He posts some huge numbers in the qualifier to reach the Grand Slam. So I certainly think he could have a serious say
beat
on
Gerwyn
this.
Price as well in this final game.
He did
as
beat
well.
Gerwyn Price, yeah. Gerwyn Price, who said he wasn't going to go, went, and then went back home again. James Wade, I like James Wade this year, and he's been lucky in qualifying for things like the match play and the World Grand Prix. But when he's been in these tournaments, he has done well. Reached the final 4 of the World Match Play, and I think he's beaten Luke Humphries before. And I think in this format, he's people sometimes are affected by this format, or they're affected by the tournament, or affected just by the time of year. James Wade isn't going to be affected by that. You would think absolutely Luke Humphries would top the group and would probably do so with some monster averages. But then it's a toss-up between second. You would think on paper James Wade, Mickey Mansell maybe. I understand I've not given much word to Rowby John Rodriguez. Listen, he was great with Metasudovic in the World Cup, but he has had a poor year and there's no getting around that. If he was to get through this group, it would be a bona fide shock.
Yes, I would agree with that. I think it will be more straightforward than you think it will be, Connor. I just think it will be Humphries and Wade. And they might well play each other in the last game, those two. So that could be, by the time they get to that stage, it could already be decided, really, for me.
Yeah, I would just give a word, as Connor did for Mickey Mansell there. I think over 5 legs format, he is dangerous. He's not always brought his best to the television stage. I think it's fair to say more of a floor player that we would sort of be used to seeing do good things on Dark Connect, probably more than on the TV. However, I do think 1st to 5, he'll give problems to Wade and Humphries. You would say that this is one of the more straightforward, clean-cut looking groups. And Rowby John, I'm sorry, but I'm not going to discount him completely in 1st to 5 leg format, but I do think he's quite a bit... like him and Mickey Mansell are the same price to win this group. That's wrong for me. Rowby's a distant 4th for me. I'd be shocked if he got out of this group, really.
Yep, on to Group B. There's 3 groups, if you like, that are very, very close on the betting. This is one of them. It's 9-4. Noppert, Schindler and Menzies are all 9-4 to win this group. Just as a reminder, the top 2 qualify. But yeah, really, really very tight in the betting. And the 4th person in this group is Bo Greaves at 5-1. Who, for me, and this is probably definitely one for Connor, was turned down qualifications or invitations, if you like, to certain tournaments, including the World Championship. I just think she's so capable. She's clearly the number 1 in the ladies' game. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'd like Bo Greaves to, cause an upset or 2 along the way, but this is really, really tight in the betting. Like I say, 9-4, 9-4, 9-4. They're all in form for different reasons. Cameron Menzies won the penultimate Players' Championship. Schindler's won a TV event this year, and Danny Noppert did well. He's had a quiet-ish year, but did well towards the back end on the Players' Championship, so you could make an argument for all 4 of these easily.
Yeah, you mentioned Bo Greaves there. I mean, this is the format that she plays on the women's series. 1st to 4 legs, 1st to 5 legs. She's played this format more than any of those guys you mentioned in that group. And in that format, she's averaged over a ton. She's averaged up towards 110. And she can do that game in, game out. She was really unlucky last year not to get out of the group. There was a game against Damon Heta.
Played his skin out. He did.
Where I think he took out 3-4-4 in 6 starts, a 180, 164. That does not happen. My only issue with Bo is I don't think she realises how good she either is or can be. She's spoken about, and after she lifted the women's world match play, she was very, very clear and upfront about this. She said she does not like or does not look forward to the Grand Slam of that. She does not look forward to playing against the men. You see someone like Fallon Sherrick, for example, who is complete opposite. She relishes that
Thrives on it.
environment.
Yeah.
She relishes that pressure. Whereas Bo Greaves loves the ladies' game, real flag bearer for that, but just doesn't like playing the men. Now, from what we saw last year, that doesn't necessarily put her off. She played well. She put in some big performances, but if it starts getting close and it starts getting into an opportunity where she could progress, is there going to be a mental block there?
I just wanted to ask you about this, Connor, as well, because I think you're particularly well positioned to answer this. I know you spoke to Bo about her battles with dartitis as well. And she seems to me, Bo, like you're right in what you say. She doesn't seem to enjoy the pressure of playing the men and this eyes on her, I suppose, in this environment. Do you think that she, a big part of her beating the dartitis has been this relaxed, carefree attitude that she kind of has to her darts now? And maybe that she struggles to replicate that in this high pressure environment against men. Maybe that's why she doesn't enjoy it.
Yeah, maybe. I think it's more than just darts with Bo. I think if you look at Bo as a person, she's 20 years old. She lives in Doncaster from a very modest background, still lives at home. So the money she's earning on the women's series is really, really good money. She's not got a lot of financial responsibility. Whereas if you look at people who are a little bit older and they've got houses, they've got mortgages to pay or rent, they've got a family to look after, so they kind of need to get up for these big tournaments. Whereas Bo Greaves is quite happy playing at the level she's playing at, which, is fine. It's her life. It's not for anyone else to say what she should or should not be doing.
We're just selfish, aren't we? We know she's good enough.
We
want to see her play these guys week in, week out. Like if she got a tour card, I genuinely think she would retain the tour card, no problem. And I think it would lift her game to another level, because I know she said herself that, yes, I can average 100, 110, but I also frequently average 70 something. But I think if she was on the tour full time, she would soon pull that B game up, and I think she can compete. And I think in this particular tournament, she is a danger for every single player, especially over 5 legs. I would hate to try and predict this group. But I suppose Danny Noppert, he's normally a player that I find quite easy to discount, but he was excellent at the European Championship.
He was
excellent at the back end of the Players' Championship. And one thing about Noppert, I think he's really good under pressure.
Yes.
A really good pressure doubler, a really good combination finisher. And in this short format, it is pressure. You have to start quick. If you're 2-0 down, you're banging trouble. And I think that maybe suits Danny Noppert more than it does Martin Schindler and more than it does Cammy Menzies. Cammy Menzies, I think, his 180 hitting this year has been unbelievable. And I think in a longer format, he now will believe that he can live with a Gary Anderson or a Michael van Gerwen. But if Cammy goes 2-0 down here, I worry about his head going a little bit.
Absolutely, that is always the worry with Cameron Menzies. He's got so much talent and he's so experienced as well. He's been playing that for so long. Yeah. In the BDO that later became the
I love
WDF,
Cameron Menzies as well. Just for the record, I'm a massive fan.
He is someone who wears his heart on his sleeve, and I think we saw when he won that Pro Tour, he forgot the camera to roll, and he said something he probably shouldn't have said. I am gonna veer away from him in this group just because of that unpredictability. If he does go 2-0 down, is he going to lose his head? It's all right. It is a short format, but you've still got time to make it up. But is he going to realise that in the moment? I'm not even going to go with Noppert as well. I'm going to go with Martin Schindler. I've just been so impressed with how he's been this year. Really disappointed at the European Championship. But really, that's only his block this year. He's won on the Euro Tour. He's been in this format so many times before, so I don't think it will affect him. And I think we could see some big averages. And then I am going to go with Bo Greaves, even though she's not winning as much as she was in the women's series. I think that's more to do with the other women around that improving. I actually think her level of play is better. And I feel like we're seeing more ton plus averages, more big performances. And I feel like if she's pushed, then I feel like she can raise her level. And if she does play someone like Cameron Menzies, is Cameron going to think about that? We saw last year with the crowd, where whoever Bo was playing, the crowd were really on both sides.
At least Cameron's had a bit of practice playing Fallon though at home. That might come in handy, to be honest.
And maybe that's valuable experience. I'm sure she would have told Cammy
we'll see,
all about Very Bo's game. But yeah, I am going to back Bo to get through this group.
Okay. So you're going for Bo and Schindler.
Yes.
Who are you going for? Top two, any order?
Danny Noppert to win the group, and I think Bo Greaves has got a real chance. But I would maybe lean towards Schindler.
I think Noppert and Schindler personally. Yeah. Right. Okay. On to Group C.
An expert to say it. They've just gone against.
Yeah.
Me.
Yeah. On to Group C. Got Rob Cross, Peter Wright, Martin Lukeman, a qualifier just last week, and Leonard Gates, who's come from the North American Continental, some sort of qualifier over there. We've seen Leonard on these shores before in different tournaments. So yeah, looking forward to this one. 6-5 Cross to win the group. 15-8 Peter Wright, 5-1 Lukeman, and 10-1 Leonard Gates. Does this look as straightforward as the top two, or can Martin and Leonard cause a bit of an upset? I think they probably can. Peter Wright, you never know what Peter Wright's going to turn up.
Well, yeah, there's a few factors here, isn't there? I think Rob Cross looks rock solid in this group. You know what you're going to get from Rob most of the time, and that is a key factor in these short format games. I expect Rob to hit his usual standards and probably win all 3 games, to be fair. But I think second place is very much up for grabs. It depends, of course, as it always does, what Peter Wright is going to turn up. We've seen hot and cold from Peter this year, as usual. Probably more hot than cold, or certainly warm in the last couple of months. I've been quite encouraged with what I've seen from him, probably since summer.
You more than me, then.
Yeah. I just think there's something there that wasn't there at the start of the year, but I still can't hang my hat on him. And that does mean that I have to, maybe not to win the group, but to qualify market when it appears will interest me in this group. Adam, you'll know that Martin Lukeman, someone that's been on my radar a lot in the floor, some astronomical numbers from Smash in the last couple of months, some wins over some big names as well. Beat Going Price in a very, very high quality game on the floor recently as well. And Leonard Gates has come over here and won senior titles, hasn't he?
Just enjoys himself.
Yeah, he does. And he's a dangerous player as well. So I wouldn't rule him out entirely. But if I was looking to take someone on, I would take Peter Wright on for the second spot, and I would do it with Lukeman. But I don't know if we have those markets available at the moment.
No, not yet. It's the opening game where it's going to be key, because Peter Wright plays Martin Lukeman.
Yeah, so I think Lukeman, if he wins that game, will go through.
Yeah. Anything for you in Group C, Connor?
I just want to echo what Matt said about Martin Lukeman. I know Luke Humphries called Mickey Mouse one of the most underrated players on tour. I'm going to put Martin Lukeman in that same bracket.
Yeah, I would as well.
Every time he gets on TV, he believes in himself. We saw him win a few games at the World Championship and other tournaments as well.
Euro Tour finalist.
As well. He's not fazed by anything. He's not fazed by anyone either. He's not going to be fazed by Peter Wright. He's someone who, when you talk to him, he actually comes across as quite a fan of the sport rather than a player. He's got so much respect for these players, but he'll still smash them if you pardon the pun. I can't see anyone beating Rob Cross. He's just so consistently good. Sort of always goes under the radar, really.
I'd say Cross is one of the most at evens. At even 6-5, that's a really good group winner bet for me.
He's number 4 in the world, and he's 22-1 to win the tournament outright.
See, even that actually, I think it's too big.
Yeah. Well, the winner and runner-up in Group C will play the winner and runner-up in Group D, which is Dave Chisnell, 15-8, and Ross Smith, also 15-8. Richie Edehouse, recent winner. What was that in the play? European, 4-1.
Outsider of the field.
There's so many tournaments these days, I lose track. And then Connor Scott, who's been going really well, young lad on the Pro Tour this year and in the Development Tour as well, 15-2 Connor Scott. All I would say is, I don't think that Chisnell and Ross Smith should both be 15-8 for this. I would have Chisnell as clear favourite if it was up to me.
Interesting. I think that's a tough old group to price generally. I'm going to back Connor Scott here, 15-2 to top this group. I think he's a fantastic talent. Maybe, I know he's just earned his tour card for next year. I think he's possibly the best player without a tour card. Prior to that, I really, really rate this kid. I know he's been on the tour and fell off before. But I just wonder with Connor whether he had that sort of great desire to win titles. He looks like he really enjoys his darts, and when he loses, you often see him laughing or messing around with his opponent. Can he find that fire and hunger? It got to a Pro Tour final this year, let's not forget. Lost to Gary Anderson.
Yes.
That was a winnable final as well, because Anderson, they both started dreadfully.
Yeah. He missed the ball for 3 times for a 117.
He did. So this guy's got just so much talent. It's all about what in between the ears for Connor Scott. And I think if he fancies it and he applies himself like we know he can beat anybody in this tournament. And you know, when we're talking about outsiders going on mad runs, he's somebody who could go on a really mad run. I think 15-2 is worth a chance. I mean, he's 5-1 in some places, 9-2. That's more where I'd have him. I think the short format, his talent. And then I look at the 3 guys above him. Yes, they're all brilliant players, but you wouldn't be scared to take them on either. I don't think, because Chizzy, well, God love him, he's a brilliant player, but we all know when he comes, the big TV lights go on and stuff, he is prone to chucking in a stinker every now and then. Richie Edhouse, he's still got to go and prove that European Championship wasn't a flash in the pan. I don't think it was, but equally, do I expect to see him in the finals of major tournaments all the time now? Probably not, I think he's a solid player. I could see him topping this group, but I don't fear taking him on. And the same applies for Ross Smith, who I don't think's had a great year by his own standards. I really thought Ross was going to kick on and be getting to like major finals. He's in a group of 3 or 4 players that I think is ready to explode, but I've not seen him explode just yet. Yep. So, yeah, Connor Scott, 15-2, that'll do me. I think he's got a right chance.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I think you've said what needs to be said there. I mean, I'm going to back Scott as well. I don't think his odds reflect how good of a player that he is, and his play. He's played so much darts, and he's played on the motors so much as well. And like you said, he does enjoy his darts, but he does take it seriously as well. He's the best player without talk at the moment. I would echo that. Richie Edhouse, fantastic at the European Championship, and not just a good draw. He played some quality darts as well. Oh yeah, and he's done that throughout this year. But to sort of back that up in another tournament, what is the mindset? Is the mindset of I've won this now, I've got this in the bag, I can relax, or I want more? Who knows? Ross Smith, yeah, it's been disappointing. For someone who was genuine quality, former major winner, and Dave Chisnell. He's mentioning it more, that he will win a major one day, and the fact that he's mentioning it more means that he's thinking about it more, and that is a real danger. Something else he may be thinking about. I don't know how much Dave Chisnell is aware of this, but provisionally, he is in the top 4 after the World Championship, which means he is in the Premier League, despite having virtually nothing on TV in the past 2 years, apart from a World's quarter-final. If he continues to have poor results, though, and Damon Hett has a few good runs, he could lose that. Is he aware of that? Is he going to think about that? I'm not too sure. One thing is for sure, I'm scared to put any money on Dave Chisnell on TV.
He's short enough as well, isn't he? 15-8. It's not that much juice in the Euro. I know you're saying he should be favourite.
I think I disagree, because I think that the Dave Chisnell TV wobbles are factored into his price. And sometimes I think people are latching onto that too much. Dave Chisnell is in better form than Ross Smith.
You look at this
he's
group,
a lot more experienced than Connor Scott. So I would be saying that from this group, I would say that Dave Chisnell and probably Richie Edhouse is going to be going through, because I think the others are based on, a little not hype, but just pretexts, if you like, that or biases we have against them. I'm not saying Dave Chisnell is going to be winning the Grand Slam, but I definitely wouldn't back against him to not qualify from this group.
He plays Connor Scott in his first game, and Scott 6-4. I'll be betting Scott there.
No,
I understand where you're coming from. I do understand.
If I'm Connor Scott, I wouldn't want to be playing Dave Chisnell first game if I had a choice. If I'm Connor Scott, I'd rather play Ross Smith.
I don't think he cares.
I would rather play Ross Smith or Richie Edhouse if I'm Connor Scott. I can see Chisnell beating him. Just it's not a mad thing to say. He's the favourite for the group, and he's world ranked number 5, provisionally number 4, as Connor said to us. Vastly more experience. I just think we're overplaying the Dave Chisnell TV wobbles.
Yeah. Well, look at 50. If I'm betting someone 15-8 to win the group, I want to be very confident.
Yeah.
And
I'm not saying I'm betting him. I'm not saying I'm betting him.
You're just saying he should be favourite.
Yes, I think he should be favourite, and I can well see him beating Connor Scott in the first round.
Okay, well, I wouldn't disagree with that, but that would be more because of my concerns with Ross Smith's recent form, to be honest. Yeah. So I can get to almost agreeing with you there, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, brilliant. Right, on to Group E. This is the bottom half of the draw. If you want, Michael Smith is 5-4. Mike Dedecker, recent TV winner. Connor used the M word earlier, which we should find.
What word?
The M word.
Oh, sorry, beg your pardon, misheard.
M for major.
Yeah, okay, I've got you.
So we should maybe fine him for that on the odds now. But yeah, Michael Smith 5-4, Mike Dedecker 6-4, Watamina, another TV winner recently, or TV finalist 6-1, and Mensah. Now Mensah shouldn't be there through his qualification criteria, but he just brings all sorts of entertainment and that makes the crowd happy.
We'll give Mensah a pass.
Yeah, we'll give Mensah a pass.
I agree.
He's 12-1. Another pretty close, as they all are. But Michael Smith is ranked number 2 in this tournament.
All right, I'm just going to say something here. And this is,
don't use the M word.
Clip this up by all you will, but is Mensah Suljovic too big at 12-1?
Absolutely, I was thinking the same thing. 12-1.
12-1.
Come on,
it's not the best group.
On.
It's not the best group in the world.
Has he done anything on TV since that Wayne Mardle moment against Michael Weir?
Yeah, that's why he's in the Grand Slam.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, but the World Cup, don't get me started on the World Cup. The World Cup shouldn't be on every year for a start. And the fact that the runners-up have qualified for here is a load of
Is Mensa Suljovic capable of averaging ton in I think he is.
Over 5 legs.
Yeah,
5 leg matches.
I do think he is. I think Michael Smith has been wildly inconsistent this year. I think whatever he says, he is going to be thinking about the money he's defending this tournament. Provisionally, if he has a bad 2 tournaments, he's dropping to world number 14. He can't not think about that. I think if he does get behind, that's going to be in his head. Mike De Decker, fantastic at the World Grand Prix. And to be fair, he's probably one of the more consistent guys, but still, who knows? And Jermaine Wattimena, fantastic at the European Championship, and a good build-up to that.
He's in career best form.
Wildly erratic, though.
Oh, yeah. And that I love that you've used the word erratic because we use that about the machine gun.
That is the one word
all the time. We say it about him all the time.
Well, that's why his nickname's the most fitting nickname, isn't it? Because he just sprays, doesn't he? And it's either good or bad. And he is in career best form. I think you're right to flag that up. I see a little bit of money for him on Oddschecker as well, which I can understand. But yeah, just to double down on that Suljovic point, for all the things that Connor just said there, Michael Smith, I can't back Michael Smith at 5-4.
No.
I can't back Michael Smith at any sort of event at 5-4. He's brilliant. He's one of the best players I've ever seen. But I can't back him at 5-4. He's an unreliable type. Mike De Decker, it's all about price, as you know, Adam. Yes. All right. Mike De Decker at 6-4 is too short.
Yes.
If he was 2-1, 9-4, I'd probably back him. That's where I'm at.
This had a guy who went to the tournament at, was it 200-1?
Yeah.
A few weeks ago.
Yeah.
And now he's 6-4 to top the group.
Yeah, I know. It's just a lot, isn't it? And look, I love backing Mike De Decker if I can get him on side because he's a player I have a lot of time for. But it's all about price. And Jermaine Wattimena at half price of Mensa Suljovic in first to 5 games. No. So I'll take a flyer, and it is a flyer, on Mensa to just string it all together in some short format games. If he plays anywhere like he did at the World Cup, that'll be enough to go close in this group. And I think he's just at that twilight of his career where he's not gonna go deep at World Championships. He's not gonna go to semi-finals and finals of majors. But yeah, if you put him in a short format game and he fancies it, he's dangerous, and he's 12-1 for God's sake. It's quite a difference between the top two in the market.
I thought it was wrong when you pulled that up. It meant to suit if it's 12-1. Maybe in this group it should be. I put him level with Jermaine Wattimena.
Well, on that basis, you might get 3 or 4-1 that he qualifies.
That's what I'm hoping
in the top 2. We're going to wait for them markets. Still, my favourite Mensah moment of all time was a couple of years ago in that Players' Championship final where he fell out with double 12.
Yeah.
He started
the leg.
Yeah, absolutely incredible. But yeah, I mean, if we're talking purely about price, we mentioned Rob Cross earlier, who everybody thought was solid. He's 6-5 at a virtually identical price. Michael Smith is 5-4. That's an avoid. Yeah. So and that's why we say it's all price related. And as a further example, 15-8 Dave Chisnell, nearly 2-1. I know there was a bit of disagreement there, but Michael Smith at 5-4. There's only one. If I had to choose one between one of them, there's only one way I'm going.
Just to finish on that, if anybody's interested about why price is so important, SD, who your colleague on Racing Now, did a great column about this on oddsnow.com about you have to know what price you want to bet a certain thing at, and everything's got a price. Yeah. I might not want to back Jermaine Wattimena to win the World Championship, but if you're giving me $1 million to 1, I'll have a quid on it because it's too big, and you've got to understand that concept. And yeah, like for me, just because of what's happened with Mike De Decker recently, because of the unreliability of Michael Smith and the unreliability of Jermaine Wattimena, Mensa is the bet there.
Yes.
Okay, fair enough. And on that note, we will move on to Group F, where Dimitri Van den Bergh is the seed in here, but he is no way near the favourite to win this group because a certain Luke Littler is in there at 1-3 to top this group. That's not just to qualify, that's to top the group. 1-3. Van den Bergh 7-2. Keane Barry, a late qualifier at 16-1, and my favourite Asian dart player Lawrence E. Logan at 16-1. And just as a side note, Luke Littler is 4-1 to win the tournament as a whole. And on the opening night or opening games here, Littler takes on Barry and Dimitri takes on Lawrence E. Logan.
Yeah, looks clean cut, doesn't it? Littler 1-3. I'm actually going to go against that. I'm going to say the prices. I'm going to back Dimitri Van den Bergh at 7-2. The reason for that being, again, short format, 5 legs. I do think Dimitri is the one player out of those 3 that is probably experienced enough to ask questions, shall we say, of Littler. And over the short format, it doesn't take much for players to win these games. I think Littler gets through absolutely no bother. There is a chance that he kind of cruises through with 2 wins out of 3 and drops one somewhere. I think he does have that in his locker, as we've touched on. So would I want to be getting stuck into the 1-3? No. I mean, I think he's the most likely player of anyone at this tournament to get through his group. but that doesn't mean I want to get the 1-3 about him winning on side massively. I think 7-2 about Dimitri is actually quite fair. I mean, the TV experience he's got is vast. 2-time major winner, gone in deep runs on every tournament. He knows the format inside out. He knows what's required. He won't put any pressure on beating Littler. And if he loses to Littler, he knows that he can just, that wins in the other 2 games where he'll be a favourite are enough. So I think that is there's a bit of juice there. And of the 2 outsiders, I think both will come here thinking they can win a game against each other, and I think they'll both know they're up against it against the other 2. Keane Barry probably deserves a mention. I do think we've seen a little upturn in his form in the last month or so on the Pro Tour, but he's just one of these players that's not really brought it to the TV yet. Has he enough for the talent that he has? Yep. He's one player I worry about maybe going down the way rather than up the way, which is quite sad at his age and the talent he has. And Ilagan is just Ilagan. He's got to cause a bit of chaos with his antics on the stage.
He's nice to watch, isn't
he? He's great fun, and the crowd will get behind him. So don't rule him out of an upset somewhere. But no, if I was having a bet, it'd be that 7-2 about Vandenberg.
Before we go to Connor, the Vandenberg style and often slow and deliberate pace.
That's another factor
which I hate. If there was 3 players, Littler obviously I know is a young lad, but if there was 3 players in the whole field that he could wind up with his slow style, Littler, Barry, and Ilagan would be, close to the top of that list, really. Just through Luke Littler age and Keane Barry and Lawrence Ilagan, possible hot head, and Keane Barry lack of experience on the big stage. Dimitri could just throw all 3 of them off, really.
Yeah, I mean, this is a group that I won't really want to put any money on, to be honest, because Luke Littler at 1-3, you're not backing anyone at 1-3 for anything really, but I expect him to steamroll the group, to be honest. And if we're going to make any prediction, it's that we're going to get a tournament record average. A record average for this tournament from Luke Littler in the group stage, because over this format, he could do that. I mean, when he was in the Czech Darts Open averaging 100 and teens, he was doing that with ease. And we've seen that a few times this year on the big TV stage in the Premier League, for example. Dimitri Vandenberg, such a strange year for Dimitri Vandenberg. I mean, he won the UK Open and he was good in that. And he beat Luke Humphries in the final.
Oh, that was horrible to watch.
It was a tough watch.
It was awful.
It was a tough watch, but it doesn't seem to have... I know a lot of people say that. Does it affect Dimitri as well, him slowing it down? I don't think it necessarily does, to be honest. Not what people say. And then he did nothing, and he knows he did nothing. And then he got to the final 4 of the World Grand Prix, which may have salvaged him a Premier League spot, actually. When he won the UK Open, I thought it was a shoo-in. And then he's had such a poor year since then.
He's done nothing on the Pro Tour at all.
No, he's been woeful. But
he might as well not turn up on the Pro Tour, Dimitri. He's out round 1 every week.
He is better on TV. He's even when he was younger, even before he won any major, he was always a big stage player.
Well, this is it.
Yeah, but he was borderline likeable then. He ain't now.
But this is why I'm coming to him here, because I've got a note I like to refer to every time I come and assess a darts tournament from a betting perspective, is that don't underestimate Dimitri Vandenberg, because every single time when the big TV lights are on and he's not talked about beforehand, he gets to like the semis. And I don't think most people being put in a group with Littler, they would react with, oh, no, I don't think it'd bother Dimitri. I think he'd just go up and play his games, do his usual antics. He might top the group. I think 7-2.
Yeah, and I want to echo what Adam said, actually. I think he made a good point. Listen, I expect Luke Littler to top the group. I expect him to beat Dimitri Vandenberg. But if Dimitri Vandenberg's tactics, if you want to call it that, his slow play are going to affect anyone, you would put Luke Littler quite high up on that list.
And also, while we're on Dimitri, I know we always say it's price related, and I don't even like watching him, but if he is a bigger price than I think he should be, then like Matt, he's gonna back him at 7-2. On the basis that we think Dimitri will qualify, whether that be first or second, he'll fancy his chances against anyone coming from Group E. Given what we've said about Michael Smith's, in and out form, Mike Decker's probably too short, and Jermaine Watamina is erratic at best. So you might want to start looking at Dimitri
Sulivic as well. Let's not forget Mensah.
Mensah, who's out of form, but apparently he's going to win the group according to these boys.
He'll win the slam.
But yeah, Dimitri Vandenberg 66-1, double the price of Mike Decker, for example.
Yes,
nearly triple the price of Michael Smith. Potential angle there if you think that he'll qualify.
Well, you've ruined my moment at the end where I was going to say Dimitri at 66 is a vet. But yeah, we'll get there now while we're on the topic. I do think that is, I think because of everything we've said, I think you have to think he's got a fair chance of at least the quarterfinals. So 66-1 will do for me.
Good. On to Group G, we are nearing the end. This is where Michael van Gerwen, the number 3 seed, Gary Anderson, Ryan Joyce, and Noah Lynn van Leuven. 11-10 Van Gerwen, 13-10 Anderson, 13-2 Joyce, who's been in pretty decent form at any price you like about Van Leuven. Pieman, there's only one place to start here. You love Gary Anderson. You love a clash.
Connor does as well.
You both love Gary Anderson. You both love a clash with Michael van Gerwen. Is it a 2-horse race, or can Joyce get his way into there, as he has shown on a couple of occasions?
Yeah, I don't think it's a 2-horse race as such. I think Ryan Joyce deserves more respect than that. He's definitely capable of beating either of them over, best of 9 legs, definitely. But you wouldn't want to be taking these two on, would you, really? Both have exceptional records in these kind of tournaments as well, in terms of getting out of the group and getting to the latter stages. Gary Anderson... I think if I was going to make 1 point, I would probably back Gary Anderson at 13-10 sooner than Michael van Gerwen at 11-10. They met each other recently, and Gary Anderson absolutely wiped the floor with Michael after Michael had called him a part-timer the day before.
And Connor called him a part-timer as well.
Yeah.
Our very own Connor Cain, yeah.
Yes, yeah. Connor, don't want to put words in your mouth.
Retirement beckons and all that.
Yeah, but look, I would back Gary at 13-10 over Michael, but I wouldn't be rushing to get involved in this group. A word for Noah Lynn van Leuven. Obviously, tends to attract headlines for different reasons to what she actually does on the board. However, very much earned her spot here, I think. Some fantastic averages in there, 110 averages in there. And I think we might see a better showing than some anticipate from her in this tournament. But look, winning a game in this group, borderline.
I'm not sure we will.
Borderline tough.
Yes. I think the crowd. The crowd generally.
Well, it'd be interesting to see how the crowd. We don't have any. We don't have any sort of previous of her with big crowds, do we? So we'll see how she handles that.
It is,
but she has the game.
She has the game, and actually, when you compare her game now to what it was 2 or 3 years
ago,
absolutely.
That improvement,
massive improvement.
I've never seen it. I've never seen that improvement from anyone before.
Yeah.
Like you said, she's capable of putting in that 110 averages. Like we said with Bo, she's used to playing this short format that the other guys don't really play on a regular basis. Michael van Gerwen, listen, you wouldn't back against Van Gerwen to get through the group, but he is, dare I say, wildly inconsistent. Mm-hmm. He could average 107 and then 93 in the next game. If he averages 93, he could lose to anyone. Ryan Joyce is such a capable player. It made the semi-final of the World Grand Prix. And I feel like when he made that semi-final, it was sort of like, you won't necessarily backed him to get there, but you're not shocked either.
No. Yeah, correct.
Because he has got that game in him. He's certainly not going to fear Michael van Gerwen or Anderson. With Noah Lynn van Leuven, like you said, attracting all the headlines, the elephant in the room. She's the first openly transgender player who's going to play in the PDC tournament. We have seen her on the Blackpool stage in the Women's World Match Play. Yep. That crowd is going to be vastly different to the crowd in Wolverhampton. We know what dance crowds are going to be like. Are they going to back her like they do with Bo Greaves, or are they going to be against her because she's transgender? It happens. We see it on social media. Hopefully that's not the case, but it's an unknown factor. It is, 20-1. I'd like to see I'd like to see a roster qualify for this group, not to win the group. Yeah. I think Anderson's untouchable, to be honest. I back Matt what he said about Anderson.
13-10 looks big.
And not only is he putting in the big numbers like last year, he's doing it consistently now. Noah Lynn van Leuven, we'll see what she is to qualify,
she's got Michael van Gerwen first game, hasn't she? And I think if you were picking that you couldn't pick a worse first game, could you really? Because you're not going to get any sort of nerves from MVG about the noise around the game.
I think the crowd will be on her side for that one, because I feel like Michael van Gerwen losing is still something that people want to see. Not because they don't like Michael, but they like just that it's an occasion, shot. Isn't it? And it's Michael van Gerwen. He's still...
But Gary Anderson versus Ryan Joyce, the other opening game in that one, that's an interesting game, isn't it? Because you feel like if Joyce can nick that one, it blows the group wide open a little bit. I'm not saying it's completely cut and dry. I just don't have a great passion to get involved in this, but I think Gary Anderson should be favourite.
I agree.
Joint favourites, maybe I can see it, because it's just priced on name, really. Van Gerwen, it does still
but when
does
they just
carry
played
that
each other last 2 weeks ago, and one's absolutely battered the other.
But also, what I would say about Gary Anderson, and you two definitely will disagree with this, I think ever since that Gerwin Price incident in this tournament, I just think he's lost that real cutthroat winning at all cost mentality. I think he's been so relaxed. He tells us he just wants to play darts. He's produced some incredible stuff this year at certain points in the year. But does he really want it as much as he used to? He's 50 odd now.
No, I don't disagree with that. I don't think he does want it as much as he used to.
Which is fine because it's still producing. But
I think you have to be realistic. This is a different Gary Anderson. It's a different Gary Anderson to the one.
This is the Grand Slam as well. He wants this one.
Yeah.
He might not be too fussed about the others. He does want.
He has said,
yeah, but we're only saying he wants this one because he's not had it before. It's what
but he says
that. Yeah, absolutely.
Because Anderson doesn't normally say that.
He's got to have that fire in his belly, and I think my big worry about Gary Anderson. I've been a massive fan of everything he's done on the floor. I wanted to see him transfer it onto the big stage a little bit more.
For a while.
Well, I saw the first evidence of it in that European Championship, and yes, it ended on a bad note. But I think MVG. Yeah, Ed House beat him in it, but it was a brilliant
Ed
game.
House average,
This is what
110.
This is what I'm getting at. So, like in that European, if you're talking about Gary Anderson putting in a good performance on TV, that was it. He smashed Michael van Gerwen up, and then he lost to an inspired Richie Ed House, and he averaged over a ton in defeat. So, if Anderson is still in that space he was a week ago, 2 weeks ago, he should be favourite for this group for me.
We even think of 12 months ago, in this tournament. I mean, I've banged on about the fact that he wants this tournament. Last year, he lost in the quarterfinals to Luke Humphries. 16-14, I think, averaged over a ton. Luke Humphries took out some clutch shots right at the end. If he doesn't do that, I think Anderson wins that tournament.
Yeah, I agree.
I just note for Ryan Joyce because I think he's had a very, very productive year on the floor and on the TV Euro Tours, etc. But I just think of any non-ranked player other than Littler that he could have drawn, Gary Anderson is a bad draw for Ryan Joyce because I think Anderson and Van Gerwen are two players for Ryan Joyce who's yet to break through into that top tier that I just think he has that inferiority.
Well, yeah, I do as well. And I think you hear it in his interviews sometimes. I don't know whether he still has that confidence to go and win a major.
Yeah.
But he's definitely got the ability to beat both of those players. But I think you're right. I think Anderson is the master of it, to be honest. I think that's a bad first game from
any other player from Pool B in terms of the draw, the likes of Wright, Rock, Wade, Ross Smith, Shinler, and Decker, that would have been much better.
I think Anderson is the kind of player who's very good at beating players he should be.
Yeah.
And I think he will,
and
unfortunately.
Anderson's got that aura about him which does affect other players, especially if that player is a real darts fan as well.
Yeah.
It
is.
And we're saving the best till last in terms of betting because this is the group of death, Group H. 11-5 Bunting, and then it's 5-2. Rock, Van Veen, and Neiman are all 5-2 to win this group. This is a complete minefield. Bunting plays Wessel Neiman in the first round of fixtures, and Rock plays Van Veen. Bunting made 4 of the last 7 Pro Tour finals. He lost all 4 of them, but he's clearly in form. Josh Rock's won 2 Pro Tours this year. Van Veen has threatened without really kicking on. Wessel Neiman has had a breakout year, really. Won a Pro Tour in his own right. This is a fantastic group, if you ask me.
Oh, God, where do you start with this group? You could make a case for all 4 of them, couldn't you? And to be honest, normally that would lead me to back the outsider, Van Veen, at 9-2. And I do think there's a thought for that. Obviously, he's been cut in a couple of places because I don't think there's much between them. So, it would lean you towards the outsider. But there's just something nagging me in the back of my head saying don't do it because the quality of the other 3. I think Rock is in form. Rock has crucial. Rock has struggled for form all year. The last month he's found it, and when he's in form, he's as good as all of them, isn't he? He's good as the top boys. He just lacks the consistency. That's what separates him from that pack at the minute. I think his A game is up there, and if Rock has that self belief, he's very dangerous. And Stephen Bunting, oh God, we talk about players that maybe just need that little bit more confidence. I think Stevens may be one of those. I think he's gained more confidence this year because he's took his game to a new level. He's won the Masters, obviously. But I still think he loses games that he shouldn't too often at the moment, Stephen.
I agree. I'll ask you a question. You'll know more about this than I do. And we're talking about fine margins. This might make a difference. Stephen Bunting's, well, not him, but his fiancée is due to have a baby any time now. Does that have an effect? Is that on your mind?
100% it is. Yeah, I'm sure you'll agree with that. When you're around that time.
Yeah, but he'll be wanting to, unless the delivery's coming, he'll be wanting to win to stay away.
Yeah,
because it's chaos in the lead up to. He'll want to be there at the time of delivery. Don't get me wrong. But remember, Wolverhampton to St Helens, where he lives, only an hour in the car. So.
But it's true, you are on tenterhooks a little bit, and you don't know where you're at from 1 minute to the next, really. And I do think that has an impact. Actually, it's an interesting point you make. But
Saying
yes,
that, we'll open up Twitter in a second and we'll see.
he's had a baby and this will all look of age terribly. But I don't know. I mean, he withdrew from a tournament, didn't he? Because his wife was unwell, and there was a little bit of concern there. So I hope all is well there.
He's done an exhibition since, so I think all is well there.
Yeah. So hopefully all does go well with that. I'm sure it will be a weight on his shoulders until it actually happens. But yeah, do you factor that in? I don't know. It's short format. I think we have to go on what we know, don't we? And I have to say, as I said, Josh Rock is a man in form. Vessel Nyman, I've never been so impressed by somebody. I'm talking like Littler levels of impressiveness. Now, I know he hasn't got the profile of a Littler.
He's a breakout star for next year, definitely. For the mass market. For the casual.
He's exactly that. For the casual darts fan, if you haven't heard of this guy, you will do in the next few months because he is that good, isn't he?
I think if he was English, we'd have heard a lot more about him.
Well, exactly. And rewind as well a year. He was actually at Ali Pali last year. He lost to Steve Beaton in a game where he seemed to struggle with the occasion. But we talk about players that have improved rapidly in a small amount of time. Nyman is one of those. He was a dominant force on the Challenge and Dev Tours. Now he's a dominant force on the Pro Tour. He's won a Pro Tour title already. He's made finals, semi-finals. He's mixed it with the best. He's averaged high in finals. It's just a matter of time before he goes into a TV tournament and goes on a serious run. Maybe wins it. If he wins this, I won't be surprised.
Yeah, and he's got that maturity about him as well. I mean, Vessel Nyman, for those who don't know, he was banned a few years ago for match fixing. He's been very, very open about that. And I think for someone at such a young age to have all that around him and to be away from the sport because you're not allowed to play it anymore for so long and then come back, be the player that he is and win titles, that says a lot about his character, the maturity. And to be fair, you could say something like that for Gian van Veen. 20, probably 22 now, isn't it?
Yeah.
I've never seen a 22-year-old speak the way Gian van Veen
does.
He's so level-headed. I mean, he lost to Rob Cross in an unbelievable game at the
European
World Match Play. And he was so. I spoke to him afterwards, and he said, "Well, just crack on. I'll get him the next time." Whereas other players, talk about like Cameron Menzies, for example, they would be inconsolable for months. In terms of where you put the money, it's impossible nearly, isn't it? So anyone.
I think just swerve it.
I
just think swerve it.
I think just swerve it.
I was trying to make a case of Van Veen, but when I talk about Nyman, I talk about Rock, I talk about Bunting, I just think, well, you're just asking for trouble trying to predict this group, aren't you? I mean, the only case I will hear that I could give some credence to is Van Veen is too big as the outsider.
Yeah, I think if you're desperate to put some money on this group, in groups like this, you just got to go with the outsider.
Yeah.
Okay, then that leaves me one question. Winner and best bets. Winner for you, Connor? Grand Slam 2024?
The winner, I say Luke Humphries for every tournament because if I say Luke Humphries for every tournament, I'm going to be right and you're going to be wrong. More often than not. In terms of the best bet, I mean, what is Luke Humphries? About 4 to 1?
3
to 1. Maybe that's a little bit too short. I mean, we mentioned earlier, didn't we, Dimitri van den Berg at 66 to 1. If you're looking at a big price, that's one of the big prices to go with. I'm just looking down that list.
I think Matt's talked me into Dimitri van den Berg. He'll be very reluctant because if he's in the final, I won't even watch
everyone knows my approach to these things, don't I? Just scroll down to the bottom of the market.
I've just seen James Wade.
James Wade, I'd give you 55 to 1 there, 55.
I underrated, on an each way bet.
Yeah,
you do that because every time you write him off, people wrote him off at the World Match Play. I wrote him off at the World Match Play. Fair enough. Even though I keep telling James that I don't write him off, I did. And he keeps proving me wrong, and he will continue to keep proving people wrong. And I actually think his level this year is better than last year. He made a major final last year at the European Championship.
I've used that word again, Connor.
In a
TV.
Premium TV.
Premium. Oh, you're going premium. Right?
Premium, yeah.
Yeah, I go with premium.
So, I think James Wade, if you ever get James Wade above 50 to 1 for any tournament.
With some big names missing?
Yeah, exactly. With some big names missing as well. I would definitely be having a look at James Wade. And whilst we're on it, I think he is a mega prize for the World Championship as well. So I know that's for a separate video, but people might have a look at that.
I think the best bet's Rob Cross at 22 to 1. I think he'll waltz through his group. I think there could be chaos.
Connor will have about 6 if you let him. You got to rein him in a little bit.
Rob Cross, I think he'll come through his group easy. I think there could be chaos in Group D. And to be honest, whoever he plays from Group D, Rob Cross would be favourite for the game, even if it's Chisnall. And then he might have to come through Luke Humphries a little bit down the line. But if you're basing your selections on trying to avoid Luke Littler and Luke Humphries, you won't get anywhere. So, yeah, Rob Cross for me, 22.
Sorry, what's Mensah Sulovic by any chance?
250.
Boom. Done. Sorted.
Right,
Okay.
so that's 3 or 4 you're backing.
No, just Mensah.
Oh, Mensah, Wade,
Mensah.
No,
Humphries,
Mensah, just Mensah.
Anderson. Right, okay. Go on then, Matt. You close us out.
I'll give you 3 then. A Vessel Nyman at 40-1, I think is worth a pork. I do think he's that good. I think he could turn up and win this. I really, really rate him highly. People ask me sometimes who's one player I should keep an eye on. It is Vessel Nyman for me. So the 40-1 looks worth having a go on. 66 is on Dimitri. I think I talked you into that one.
You have.
Just because I think he might get through that group. He could top it. I think whoever he plays out of Group B is opposable. So there's a route to the quarters there. So I could back him at 66. And I'm going to have a little bit on Connor Scott at 150-1 as well. Just because I made a case for him going deep earlier in the video at a monster price. So it'd be rude of me not to give him a few shillings as well.
And on that bombshell, we will end. That's your Grand Slam wrapped up there. And make sure you're checking us out on Odds Now and Darts Now, Racers Now. We've got it all covered here at Odds Now. Thanks for tuning in.